Hello and welcome to another installment of Settle the Score. I am your host, Mark Bradley, and I appreciate you guys coming out again to another week of good sports talk that we're going to get into as usual. So, like I said, every week, I appreciate you guys coming out as always, and we have some good topics for you today. So we're going to go ahead and get into some of the topics that we are going to be discussing. So our first topic today is going to be a college heavy program this week. So we're going to start with college football. College football has been going along, and it's been some ups, it's been some downs for NCAA football, but we are going to go ahead and dive into that. Then we're also going to talk about college basketball, which should be starting in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to go ahead and give our predictions on who we think will win the Power 5 conferences. So we are going to go ahead and speak on that. And then we are also going to talk about the NFL, and it's the midseason now. So it's midseason now. So we're going to talk about some of the standings and some of the predictions I gave before the season started, and we're going to see where we are in those predictions as well. So we are going to go ahead and talk about that. So I appreciate everybody who came out as usual. And if you guys, as always, have any questions or comments, by all means, please go ahead and put them down. Put it down in the comment section. We'll definitely go ahead and speak on your favorite team if they're doing good this year or if they're not, or if you just mad about anything in the sports world, we're going to go ahead and discuss it. I love interacting with my fans. So by all means, please comment. So let's go ahead and get started on our first topic, which is the college football season. So we all know the college football season has been going on. And so we're going to talk about one of the biggest games of college football season so far, which was the Clemson and Notre Dame game. And so, Notre Dame, who's now in the ACC, because usually they're just an independent school that usually just makes their own schedule. But because of COVID reasons and they can't really travel like they usually do, they had to find a conference so they can at least, stay and not travel something like ridiculous. So, they can keep the COVID numbers down. So now the Notre Dame is in the ACC. They play Clemson. This was a top 5 matchup. Clemson, who was ranked number 4, and Notre Dame, who's ranked Clemson, who's ranked number 1, and Notre Dame, who's ranked number 4. Had a big clash. In the game, and unfortunately, with the news that Trevor Lawrence, who is going to be the first pick in the NFL draft, unless something like drastic happens, but he's going to be the first. He's going to be the first pick in the NFL draft, and unfortunately, he missed his last 2 games. He missed the Boston College game, which they played 2 weeks ago, and now he missed this game. This was the biggest game of the season for them, and he couldn't play due to COVID-19. And so his backup, his name is DJ. I will butcher this name. Let me read. Ucla. I probably butchered that. He's a quarterback from California, St. John Bosco, which is a powerhouse high school for football in California. He goes to Clemson. He plays very well in his first game against Boston College. He had a great performance. And it was the same thing in the Notre Dame game. He played very well. He looked very comfortable in the system, and he looked like he was ready for college football, like from the jump. He's a very big guy, very strong arm. He's still a freshman, a true freshman at that. you just basically bring them in and just tell them, hey, go out there and play, right? So he does that. Like, don't get me wrong. Clemson put up 40 points. Like, in any game, like, putting up 40 points will get you a win. Unfortunately, the defense couldn't help them out at all. And it was bad. So eventually the game came down to overtime. Notre Dame was able to win 47-40. And that was a tough loss for Clemson, because we all know Clemson, the best team in college football, hasn't lost a game in a long time since. Well, I mean, they lost in the finals against the college football national championship game against LSU last year, but they looked like they was going to blow by the ACC, right? Trevor Lawrence was having a great year as usual. And now with COVID-19 happening, it's really tough. How you doing, Percy? Welcome to the stream, man. So you really have to think about things like that now. I mean, your top players could literally not play a game because of the virus. And that's a lot of things. This is definitely going to be one of those things now teams have to take in consideration and really have to be careful moving on, because you get a star like Trevor Lawrence who doesn't play because because of the virus, and that could hurt your season. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think this is going to hurt their chances of getting into the college football playoffs. But it could be a point where this could happen again. It could be another time that a star player for Clemson or any other top team gets the virus and they don't play, and it really makes an impact in the game, because this really did make a big impact in this game. But I mean, it's not much to blame here. I mean, like I said, Clemson DJ Ucla really did his job in being that starter for Clemson, but it just wasn't enough. So you really have to think about things like this having the virus and just affecting the whole football team. Now let's think about this. Now, since the virus started, a lot of teams are not playing football as of right now. So now this year's the rankings have been very awkward, right? Like, some teams you'll never think in a million years would be in the top 25 is in the top 25. Which is very funny to really think about. It's like, what? This team made it? It's in the top 25. Like, you can tell this season has really it's really different. It's really like unlike a lot of things. And so let's go ahead and look into that. So let's just kind of breeze through the top four. Alabama, who is number one, who is consistently a number one team. Alabama is always, is always a top team, and there's no mistaking that. So there's that, and then coming in number two is Notre Dame, who's able to beat Clemson 47-40. Like I said, it was able to take in that top two seed. Let's see if they can keep it up. Things about Notre Dame is sometimes they lose against teams they're not supposed to lose to. So we're going to have to see how that all plans out. And then here's the thing. Okay, this is one of those, this is one of those crazy things to really think about. Ohio State is number 3, and Ohio State only played 3 games. So let's look at this. Alabama is 6-0. Notre Dame is 7-0. Ohio State's 3-0. Like, that's very weird. That's very weird. But like I said, this year is very different. And then coming out at number 4 is Clemson with a 7-1 record. Like I said, they lost. They did not drop out of the top 4, which is going to help. I mean, they're still in the playoff contention, but they have a lot of competition. With Texas A&M, who's a surprise team for sure, coming in at number 5, and then number 6 is Florida. And so let's look at this. This is where it starts to get interesting, right? Number 7 is Cincinnati. Now we all know Cincinnati is not one of the top football teams in the country, but they are undefeated. And unlike anything this year, you get the chance to really make a statement because of the virus. A lot of teams are still not playing. And you get to the point where, you have a number 7 seed in Cincinnati. And let's drop down to number 10, Indiana, who's not a football school by any stretch of the imagination. Is 3-0, and they're in 10th. They're in 10th. That is really interesting. Now, let's look at this. Oregon right now is 11th. And if they continue to win, they're going to overtake a lot of these teams that are currently in the top 10, because the Pac-12 just recently started their season last week. So they're still hot, fresh on the scene. So we're going to probably see a lot of Pac-12 teams move up in the rankings very fast. Very fast. Okay, let's look at another team here. Another 2 teams here who's usually not where they need to be. Coastal Carolina. I never heard of Coastal Carolina being a top 15 school ever in my 30 years of living. I ever heard of Coastal Carolina as a top 15 team. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I said, they are undefeated with a 7-0 record. Now, don't get me wrong; they're a good team, but a top 10, a top 15 team that's with a lot of these Power 5 conferences. No. That's kind of interesting to me. And then we have number 16 is Marshall, another small school who's really not known. I mean, not known for football. I think that is their top program. But Marshall at 16. That's very interesting. And then here's another team who's, Liberty. Liberty is another team. I never heard of Liberty University in my life, to be honest with you, but they are 7-0 again, and they're a top 25 team. So this is a very strange year this year for college football in general. It's very weird. We just have teams who are in top 10, who's in the top 25 that just never really there, just because a lot of these teams are not playing football because of the virus. So this is just a strange year. This is a very strange year. And we just got to take into consideration that this is where it's at. So look, I mean, at this moment, it's just a lot of weird stuff going on, but this is what you get when you're in the middle of a pandemic. I guess. Excuse me. So that's basically what I have to say about college football. It's just a lot of different stuff going on. So you just got to really think about a lot of things. It's affecting the virus is affecting a lot of things in the college football world. And when it's coming down to the end of the season, we're in November. We're gonna go ahead and get into December. The top 4 teams, I expect to have a bubble situation, and really, just have the teams in a safe little environment for the top 4 teams who are going to be in the college football playoffs. And just to think the other bowl games that's going to happen, are they going to travel as well, or try to keep the teams who are close in proximity, keep those teams and just let those guys have a bowl game? Just to let them, have their own game, and just they don't have to travel too far, because usually anybody can just play anybody in a bowl game, and they just go with that. But I think they should really consider that just having teams who are eligible to play in bowl games, just to just have them in, just have the teams who are eligible for bowls just play in close proximity. But it could mean that a lot of top tier teams play a lot of lower tier schools, and it's a blowout. It could happen. It could come down to that, but you got to think of safety first. So that could be an option. And then, like I said, with the top 4 teams, to just have a bubble situation, and just they are going to play each other eventually. So it's like, hey, it's kind of easy. We can just have a bubble and just play it maybe in Texas like they usually do, or Florida, or I don't know if anybody knows where they're playing. Where they're playing to play the college football playoffs, please put it in the chat, and I would truly appreciate it. So that's going to be the end of the college football talk. And like I said, if anybody wants to go ahead and have any questions or comments about your favorite college team playing in bowl games, or if they're bad, because some of your teams are bad, I'm not gonna lie, but it's sports. Somebody has to be bad. But yeah, if anybody wants to go ahead and make a comment about it, by all means, please. I love to interact with you guys. So let's go ahead and continue with college basketball now. So like I said, college basketball will be starting in a couple of weeks. I think they're going to start like early December, late November, early December. They're going to start getting ready to play games. And so I was thinking that we could have a time where we talk about the Power 5 conferences and who we think are going to go ahead and win in those conferences. Now you can't take my word on this. College basketball, you never know what happens, but who are the top teams in their conferences, and basically who's going to dominate year after year. So we are going to go ahead and look into some of those teams. So we're going to go ahead and just really, look through all of them. And we are going to start in the ACC. So each and every year, we know Duke and North Carolina are the top 2 teams in that division. And then you have a lot of sleeper teams that could come up, like Notre Dame. Usually Notre Dame is a very good basketball school as well as a football school. They're one of those sneaky teams that could really play. And also Virginia. We all know Virginia have a great basketball program for the past couple of years. They're always competitive. But we know North Carolina and Duke, those 2 are the cream of the crop of the ACC. And look, I think this is the thing. I think Duke and North Carolina are both going to be fighting for the number 1 spot. But I think Duke, as much talent as they have each and every year, and Coach K, who's a consistent winner, it's going to be hard to not see Duke winning the ACC. It's going to be hard to not see Duke win the ACC. Like I said, Virginia could be a sleeper team. Virginia is always a tough team in the ACC, and North Carolina always is a tough team in the ACC. North Carolina has talent each and every year, and then Notre Dame is another sleeper team. But I just think Duke. I think whoever between Duke and North Carolina, when they play each other, both those times, I think whoever wins that is going to be the winner of the division, and I think it's going to be Duke. I think it will be Duke that's going to come out of the ACC, and it's and the ACC is always a strong basketball conference, guys. They send a lot of these teams into the NCAA March Madness tournament, so I think Duke is going to be the head of that, and yeah. So let's go ahead and continue on to the Big 12 conference. Excuse me. And the Big 12 is another great conference that is always strong, and they send a lot of winners out of that conference who usually goes deep into the tournament and always wins the national championship. And so let's go ahead and look into those teams. So we have to look at Baylor as one of the top teams of the Big 12. Baylor comes in as the number 2 team. They was the top team last year in the conference. Baylor looked really unstoppable. That is a strong basketball school out there in Waco. And then, let's think about a sleeper team, Oklahoma State. Cade Cunningham, who was a top recruit in high school, is playing for Oklahoma State. He could show out in that conference and have Oklahoma State as a very, decent team. Texas is not exactly a basketball school. I don't think they really care much about basketball as much as they do as football. And then TCU is another one. West Virginia and Iowa State's not really that good. Kansas is a dominant basketball school, has been for years and years and years. So I see Kansas and Baylor as the cream of the crop of the Big 12. And that those two, I think they're going to be fighting for that conference. Those two are by far the best 2 schools in the Big 12. Kansas comes into the season ranked number 6. And so look, you gotta really think about that. And so I think those two are going to be slugging it out for the Big 12. If I had to say, I think Baylor is going to go ahead and win the Big 12. That's going to be a tough division. I think what they're going to do, I think Baylor's going to bully a lot of teams in the Big 12. A lot of weaker teams like Kansas State, who's not exactly a basketball school, Iowa State, Texas Tech. Texas Tech could be a sleeper. They had a surprise season not too long ago. And West Virginia is not going to be that good. I don't think TCU is going to be that good basketball wise. So I think they're going to beat them up a little bad. But then, when it comes down to the competition, we have to see if Baylor's going to go ahead and beat the real teams such as Kansas and Oklahoma State, who I think is going to be a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. So you really have to think about those things. So I predict Baylor is going to go ahead and win that division, and they're going to make a strong case of being the number 1 seed going into the March Madness tournament. And yeah, it's Baylor and Kansas. Those are the two teams. And then I got to think about Oklahoma. Oklahoma could be decent, but I don't think they're going to be Kansas or Baylor like. So, Baylor's going to go ahead and get the division there. So let's go ahead and continue on to the Big Ten. Big Ten is another decent basketball conference. Not the best, but they're decent. They're decent. We can give them some love. I think out of the All Power 5 conference, they're okay. They usually have some teams who are very strong in this conference. And we have a couple of teams, you have to really think about, okay? So let's say about the Big Ten. They're very top heavy. Like their top schools are really good, but then the rest of the division is really bad. So let's go ahead and look into it. So first we have to look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is coming into the season as the number 7 seed in the NCAA basketball rankings. So you really have to think of Wisconsin. The Midwest love the basketball. They're a strong team to really look out for. Then we have Illinois, who's coming in at number 8. we all know Illinois love basketball, especially Chicago area. They get a lot of talent out there in that Chicago area who plays in Illinois. So Illinois is going to be another team to really look out for. And then we have Iowa. Iowa is a top 5 school. Iowa is a top 5 school. So like I said, with the Big Ten is very top heavy, but then when you get down to Rutgers. It's not exactly a really good school as far as basketball. Penn State, Ohio State could be a sleeper team. Indiana could be another sleeper team. Minnesota, they're decent, but not the best. Purdue, who's okay. Michigan State could be a hot or cold team. Michigan, who was really good last year. You never know what Michigan does this year, so it's a lot of teams you really have to look out for. But like I said, they're very top heavy, and I think with this division, I see Iowa and Illinois slugging it out for the Big Ten. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Illinois. I think Illinois has a little bit more talent. As far as perimeter players, they got guys on that team that can score like crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and give Illinois the edge in this division. And usually this division they really go after it. They really go after it. The top teams, but they're not as big as a Big 12 or an ACC, but they are a very competitive division, and it's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun division to really look out for. So we have to definitely be on the lookout for the Big Ten. So let's move on to the next conference, and that is going to be the Pac-12. Who isn't exactly the biggest basketball school. They're not, but it's okay. They still have to play basketball. So let's look at the teams on here. We have to go ahead and look at Oregon. Oregon is a very strong basketball school, strong football and basketball school. They're ranked 20th coming into the year. And look, Oregon has some talent, but sometimes they can lose games that you like, what? Like, come on, Oregon, you're not supposed to lose to these guys, right? And also, let's look at Arizona State. Arizona State comes in as number 18. And Arizona State is a strong upcoming team. They really, got some really was able to get really good recruits into their into what's up, Shanghai? I appreciate you. They have really good recruits that are coming into that came into Arizona State. So they can ball. And then we also have to look at UCLA, who's coming in at rank 22. UCLA was one of those teams last year who didn't start really well, but they finished really strong. UCLA finished really strong last year in the Pac-12 division. So you can tell why they're going to be a top team. They're just going to build off of their success of last year. And then we have to look at another some sleeper teams that could come up in the division, such as USC. USC was a very strong team last year, but it's a lot of changes going on in USC. A lot of those players are not coming back. They graduated and went on to the pros or whatever else they were doing. I know a lot of the players didn't make it exactly to the pro ranks. But they do have Onyeka Okongwu, the center from USC. He's going to be a lottery pick this coming up in a couple of weeks. Well, actually next week. Next week's the NBA draft. So we definitely going to talk about that next week. So I hope you stay tuned for that. But they was able to get Evan Mobley, who was a top recruit out of high school coming out of California. So if he can play well and the team plays well, USC could be a sleeper team. Arizona used to be a top team in the in the Pac-12 and all of college basketball when they had DeAndre Ayton there. He was a cornerstone piece for Arizona. And then also teams like Stanford, they could be all right. Washington State, you never know. The Cal Bears, Cal Berkeley out there in NorCal, they could be very good. And then also Colorado, you never know. Washington, you never know. So, but I think with this division, I think it's going to come down to either Oregon or UCLA. I think it could be time for UCLA to make that jump and really really make noise in that division, because they did last year, and I think they were the top team going into March Madness, but then eventually they canceled the season. But I think UCLA has a great chance of winning that division. It's going to be a slugfest between the top three teams, UCLA, Oregon, and Arizona State. You really have to look out for USC, because USC has been a very strong, consistent team in the Pac-12, so you really have to look out for that. But I think UCLA will have the edge in that division in the Pac-12. And yeah, they go ahead and move on to the March Madness, So let's go ahead and move on to our last conference, our last Power 5 conference that we're going to get into, and that's the SEC. And the SEC is another one of those very strong, top-heavy teams that you really have to think about. And so we are going to go ahead and talk about that. So obviously the cream of the crop of the SEC each and every year is Kentucky. Kentucky is a powerhouse college basketball school. Everybody wants to play in Kentucky. It's just one of those strong division guys. So you have to look out for Kentucky. Kentucky is always a deep playoff contender, March Madness contender who can win the division. And we have to continue on to look out for them. Then we have another strong team like Georgia. Georgia was a strong team last year with Edwards, who's going to be a top pick in the NBA draft next week. And top 5, I think. So we have to look out for Georgia, see if they can have the same success. You also have to look out for teams like LSU. LSU is a kind of a strong team. You have to really look out for that. And then also you have to look out for Florida. Florida has been a very, very consistent basketball team lately. So you have to look out for them. And also maybe smaller teams like Mississippi State, Texas A&M, who's a strong basketball team as well. Vanderbilt's not too much Arkansas either, or Ole Miss. Alabama's not a basketball school by any stretch of the imagination. They love football out there. So, and South Carolina, not exactly much of a basketball school either, but you never know with these teams. You never know with college basketball at all. So, but I think it's hard pressed to think that anybody's going to beat Kentucky in that division. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the edge to Kentucky, and that's basically all for the basketball for the Power 5. So if you guys missed it, I'm going to go ahead and give my predictions again. So I have Duke in the ACC. I have Baylor going ahead and winning the Big 12 conference. I have Illinois going and winning the Big 10 conference. Pac-12, I have UCLA. And for the SEC, I have Kentucky winning that division. Now, like I said in the beginning of the segment, you never know with college basketball, because there's a lot of small teams, small schools that are really good at basketball. Let's for example, Gonzaga out there in Washington, a powerhouse basketball school, who's a smaller school. Nobody thinks of any other sport in Gonzaga but basketball. They're the number one team going into the year. And Gonzaga is always one of those teams that always goes deep into March Madness. Now, when they get into like the Final Four, they always find a way to lose the game. I don't know why that is, but they always find ways to lose games, big games at that. And then we also have to think about Creighton. Creighton is another team that is a small school, but is very strong in basketball. And you really have these smaller schools are very strong in basketball. So we have to look out for those teams. And like I said, in March Madness, man, it's always upsets in March Madness. I don't know why people just stress themselves by trying to do March Madness brackets, because man, they never seem to work. And so, you got to think about those smaller schools that are strong in basketball, that always makes noise in college basketball. So that is basically going to end my my college basketball predictions. And like I said, I love interaction. So if you think your college basketball team is going to be any good, and I forgot about Villanova. Let me not forget about Villanova out there in Pennsylvania. That's another small powerhouse basketball school that's good too. But like I said, if you want to go ahead and have any questions or comments about who do you think is going to be strong in college basketball, by all means put it in the chat wherever you're at, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I will see it right here. I was able to get I forgot to tell you a big deal. I figured out how to get my Facebook comments on here. So I'm excited. I don't have to look at my computer no more. So I can see and highlight your comments on Facebook or on the stream right here. So if you guys want to comment on Facebook, I'll be more than glad to highlight your message, guys. So I'm excited about that. That was a big find for me. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So let's go ahead and continue on to our last topic, and that is the NFL midseason review. Now, we all know the NFL is in the midway point of this season, and it's been a lot of surprises and a lot of disappointments in a lot of these teams who we thought was going to be good, and they're really not. So I had my predictions in earlier and before the season started, and we're going to talk about those predictions, and let's see where we stand right now as far as prediction wise, especially my predictions. And if you guys want to make your predictions now that we know who's good and who's not, by all means comment on down below. So let's start in the NFC. Let's start there. Let's start in the NFC East, and oh my goodness, everybody stays in this division. So I said the Cowboys was going to win, and man, the Cowboys has such bad luck at this moment. Dak Prescott, injured his ankle. It was a very nasty injury, and now the Cowboys are really trying to find out who's going to be their next quarterback. I think they're going to stick with Andy Dalton. I'm not 100% sure, but it's bad in Dallas. It is so bad in Dallas, and right now they have a 2-7 record. And right now, Philadelphia is leading that division with a 3-4-1 record, a 3-4-1 tie. I mean, they won 2 in a row, so that's a big upside. But this division is all around like bad. I hate to say it, I hate to be that guy, but this division is horrible. And look, everybody's still in it, which is very weird. It's very weird. Like, anybody could win this division. Washington with a 2-6 record could win the division. Could win the division. Like, that is insane to me. But look, the NFC East haven't been a good division in a long time, unfortunately, just to be honest with you. So My prediction is a little bit off right here. I had Dallas going ahead winning that division, but I mean, it's up in the air with that division. Anybody can win at this point. So anyway, let's move on to the NFC West, which is a very strong division. This is a competitive division. So right now, the Seattle Seahawks is winning the division at 6-2. And I had the Los Angeles Rams winning the division. Now, still could be the case. Don't get me wrong. They have a 5-3 record right now, but nobody predicted Arizona being where they're at right now. Excuse me. Arizona with a 5-3 record. Kyler Murray is playing very well. DeAndre Hopkins seemed to fit like a glove for that offense. Larry Fitzgerald's good. They're playing decent defense. You got to give them love. Excuse me, I had Seattle win the division. No, let me not play myself. I did not have the Rams win the division. I had Seattle winning the division, and so Seattle is definitely doing that. As of right now, Russell Wilson is playing out of his mind. And so you got to give Russell Wilson some credit. And then the 49ers who did make it to the Super Bowl last year seems to have a Super Bowl slump right now with a 4-5 record. But oh my goodness, Seattle has been through. San Francisco has had so many injuries that's hurting them right now, especially to Nick Bosa, who injured his ACL, and Jimmy Garoppolo, who their quarterback, who's been hurt for a long time, and Nick Mullins had to take over. You know, they could have been a very good team if they didn't have as many injuries as they did. So we have to look out for that. You never know with this division. So let's continue on to the NFC North. I had Green Bay winning the division, and so far they're not disappointing me at all. The Packers right now with the 6-2 record, and like I said in the beginning of the year, as long as you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you're going to be good. Aaron Rodgers is having a crazy year this year again, and like each and every year, it seems like the NFL is trying to push him out the door or something. Like, oh, he's getting older. It seems like his time is coming, but each and every year he puts up numbers, and this is no different. It's no different. Then we have Chicago with a 5-4 record. To be honest, I thought Chicago started the season very well, and it really did shock me because that defense is so good. Like I said, that defense, if the defense can carry them to games, which they did a lot of times, that was going to be a good team. That offense, on the other hand, is not that good. Let's be real. Mitchell Trubisky was benched very quickly. He had a short leash, and now Nick Foles is taking over. He's not really that good of a quarterback either. So now they lost 3 in a row, so it's not looking good for them in that division. But it is what it is. The Vikings I thought would have been a lot more competitive, but they're not. And the Lions, the Lions are just being the Lions, I guess. So let's continue on to the last division, the Nfc South. And I did have the Saints winning that division, and they are currently winning that division with a 6-2 record. And look, you can tell Drew Brees is on his last leg, man, because sometimes looking at these games, it's tough. Now they won 5 in a row, and Drew Brees have been playing well. Like now, let me retract. Now Drew Brees, he looks older, but he's still having a good season. He played very well last week against Tampa Bay. They blew them out the water. Blew them out the water. In the division, and the Bucks. Look, we all thought the Bucks were going to be a good team, and they are. The Bucks are a very good team, and like I said in the beginning of the year, when they lost their first game, it wasn't a surprise to anybody. I don't think it was. They had to figure it out and learn each other's play styles, right? So now that they do, they're a good team, and they could very much be the winners of the division. So the Bucks are very good. Atlanta is a big disappointment. I thought Atlanta would be a lot better team than they are now, but they lost a lot of close games, which hurt them a lot. They could have been a lot more competitive in the division, but unfortunately they're not. So there's that. And then, like, we all knew Carolina was going to be a bottom feeders of the division. They need a quarterback, like, very bad. Unfortunately, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is the answer there. They need a very, very strong quarterback there in Carolina. So let's look through my division picks again for the NFC. I had NFC East. I had the Cowboys winning. They're not that good of a team. I mean, nobody is in the division. The Eagles are winning so far. I had the Seahawks win the NFC West. They are doing what they have to do. They're making me look good. NFC North, I had the Packers winning. They're making me look good as well. So thank you. And the NFC South, I had the Saints winning the division. They're doing that as well. So let's move on to the AFC. So let's start with the AFC East, guys. The AFC East. I had the Bills winning the division, and the Bills are winning the division with the 7-2 record. I thought the Bills was going to be a strong team, and they are. Stephon Diggs it fits like a glove for the Bills system, and Josh Allen took a step up as a very above average quarterback. I wouldn't call him a superstar yet, but he's an above average quarterback, and they're winning games. And the Bills always had a strong defense. Don't get me wrong. Bills always had a strong defense, so we already knew that was going to be fine. It was just a matter of if Josh Allen was going to take that step up, which he has in this year, and he's playing like a good quarterback. And let's look at this. The Dolphins. The Dolphins is a surprise team, a surprise shocking team. So the Dolphins with a 5-3 record, hey, you got to give them credit. Look, Fitzpatrick really had the team playing well in the beginning of the season, and now Tua Tagovailoa, just I'm butchering these names. I got to practice a little better with that. But Tua's playing very strong now in his first 2 games, and he's 2-0. In his starts, and they won 4 in a row. So they're a strong team in that division. The Patriots, the Patriots are. I thought they was going to be in this situation. I didn't know if Cam Newton was going to be that quarterback to really put him over the edge, and I don't think he is. They was able to win last week, but they played the divisional games against the Jets, who is terrible. The Jets are terrible. The Jets are so bad, guys. I'm sorry. The Jets are just no good. The Jets are no good. So, unfortunately, the Jets are just the worst team in NFL at this point. But the Patriots, like I said, I didn't think that they was going to have a good season. So, you gotta transitioning. Like I said in the beginning of the year, it's a transitioning phase for the Patriots now that Tom Brady is playing very well in Tampa Bay, and you bring in Cam Newton, who's not in his prime anymore. He has a lot of injuries. I mean, he's playing okay, but he's not that former Cam Newton who was an MVP caliber type guy. He's not that guy anymore, and I'm sorry he's not. And the Patriots defense, like I said, is not that good like they were last year. Last year that defense was so amazing. This year they're giving up some points. So unfortunately, it's about that time somebody else had to take over that division, and Buffalo is doing that. So you got to give them credit, Buffalo. So my prediction there is spot on. So I'm excited about that. So the AFC West, Kansas. I predicted Kansas City winning that division, and they are winning that division. Look, Kansas City is a Super Bowl team. It is what it is. Kansas City with an 8-1 record. They're a Super Bowl team. Unfortunately, it's how it is. They return 90% of their starters from their Super Bowl team. they're going to win. So, and then you have Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the NFL. Look, I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and you know, it's no surprise. And then we have the Las Vegas Raiders, who's another surprise team with a 5-3 record. I don't think anybody saw them as a playoff team, but they're definitely playing like it. They're definitely playing like a playoff team, so they could probably sneak into that wild card. And I thought they would. I thought they would this year. I thought there was going to be a wild card team. And look, Derek Carr is playing very, very strong football. And he's being very overlooked by Patrick Mahomes, who's in the same division. Derek Carr is competing like 70% of his passes. I think he only has one interception, and I think he has like 12 or 13 touchdowns. That's MVP like, but we all know Derek Carr is probably, you know, they probably think of him as a game manager type quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over. But, you know, Derek Carr, I think he's taking a big step up. He's using his legs more, and it's really helping the team. It's really helping the team. And then we have the Broncos and the Chargers. The Chargers could easily be competitive in that division. They just lose a lot of close games and they allow teams to come back from big leads. And then we have the Broncos, who, you know, is hurt with a lot of injuries. So they could have been a lot better too if they wasn't injured. You know, Von Miller was lost in the beginning of the season. And you know, Drew Lock is playing okay. I mean, he's not the best quarterback, but he's a serviceable quarterback. So, but look, the Chiefs are winning that division, and I don't see anybody beating them out of that division. So, you know, so Kansas City's doing what they have to do. So let's move on to the AFC North. And the AFC North, Pittsburgh's the best team in the NFL right now. Now, I have Baltimore winning the division. And the reason why I have Baltimore winning the division, I didn't think, you know, Ben Roethlisberger was going to come back and play the way he's playing. He's playing very well. I thought his time has passed him. He's coming back from injury. I thought it was just like, you know, Ben's not going to be the same Ben he is, but Ben Roethlisberger is playing very well. That defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers is ridiculous, guys. That defense is so good, man. You cannot run against this team. You can probably pass a little bit to them, but look, when you take away that run game and you become predictable, which Pittsburgh does a lot of times, it's hard to beat them. It's hard to beat them when you become predictable, and you have to throw the ball 45 times. Like, you're not going to get nowhere like that when you can't run the ball. And Pittsburgh can stop the run. And then we have Baltimore with a 6-2 record. They're still good, but you know, when the Steelers are playing like they are, it's kind of hard for them to, you know, see them winning the division. And then we have the Browns. The Browns is another shocker team. Browns losing to an ugly game against the Raiders and then having a bye week this week. We have to see how they bounce back. And we all knew the Bengals were not going to be good, but Joe Burrow is one of those, you know, bright spots of that team. A very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. But, you know, when they add talent around Joe Burrow, I think he's going to be I think the Bengals has a very bright future. And so, look, I predicted the Ravens winning the division. The Steelers are shut me up like wholeheartedly. The Steelers are, the Steelers are having a excellent year. So you have to give the Steelers credit. And so let's move over to the last division, which is the AFC South. The Colts, I don't think that anybody saw the Colts being where they are. The Colts are winning the division right now. Phillip Rivers is still playing very well. He's doing a good job doing what he has to do with Indiana. Indiana has a strong defense. Darius Leonard and DeForest Buckner is a strong team. Another team that can stop the run very well. And just, you know, when you stop the run, you like I said, you become predictable and pass the ball a lot. yeah, that helps the defense. Titans are another surprise team. They are 6-3. I don't think anybody saw the Titans being where they are. Look, we have Ryan Tannehill, who's playing very well. He's playing very well as far as being a good game manager type quarterback. Their defense is okay. They could be a little bit better, but the Titans are a decent team, a very sleeper team. Now, this was my pick. I thought the Houston Texans will win the division. They're not good. Unfortunately, Houston Texans has a 2-6 record, and look, it's tough. Their defense is not good. They're really not scoring too much. You can tell that the DeAndre Hopkins trade really hurt them because look, Deshaun Watson looks like he doesn't have any weapons like he used to do. So it's tough for them. And then the last place team division is the Jaguars. And the Jaguars, we all kind of knew it's going to be bad. I mean, they need a quarterback, so they better hope the Jets get a win somewhere. Because I know they're trying to get Trevor Lawrence as much as the Jets. So look, it's tough for the Jaguars, man. They got to get that first pick. They got to find a way to get that first pick. So let's go back to my predictions. So I had the Buffalo Bills win the AFC East, and they are winning the division. I had the Kansas City Chiefs winning the division. They are winning the division. I had the Baltimore Ravens winning the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers is playing very well. Best team in the NFL right now. And the AFC South, I had the Texans winning the division. They're not good. They're not good. And the Colts and Titans are tied right now. So that's very interesting. So that's basically the divisions. As a whole, it's like I said, it's been some surprises and it's been some disappointing teams. So we're gonna have to look for the rest of the season who the teams that are, fighting for playoff position and fighting for divisional lead. So we're gonna go ahead and continue to monitor that as the playoff season continues. So I appreciate everybody who came out to the show this week. Unfortunately, I had technical issues starting the show, but it's all good. We were able to get through it, and so I will be back next week, same place, same time as always, noon Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to see you guys there as usual. Everybody who is watching me on Twitch, I'm going to send you over to Juju. He's currently playing NBA 2K21 on the PS5. Everybody know the PS5s are out, and everybody is playing on the new consoles, and it's exciting times for a lot of people who has those. So I'm going to go ahead and send you over to him. Everybody on YouTube, Facebook, I appreciate you guys coming out, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.